And there is a wave, a tsunami here of high quality gaming projects coming, and its impact on the total user count for crypto will be historic, and it will completely, in my opinion, it will dwarf everything that came before, I believe.
All right, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin, here with Aaron, joined by friend of the channel, returning guest, and also some may call him the NFT whisperer because he's been talking about this kind of stuff for years now. Elliot of EllioTrades, welcome back, man.
NFT. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. We've been friends for so long now. I feel like you guys are like my old buddies from way back because we met in the bear market, and it feels like 100 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's so crazy. The bear market, made a lot of the people that stuck through the bear market. Obviously, now we're all seeing sort of the fruits of what this market developed that made it turn into bull. But just broad strokes first, I guess. What's new with you, man?
Oh gosh. So obviously, focusing, I'm so excited for what's about to happen with SuperFarm. And we're right on the brink of releasing all of the puzzle pieces that people can understand what we've been building, the game, the tokenomics, the marketplace, the features, the new things that are different, and how all the pieces fit together and hug our token holders. And those are the things that I've been super consumed with. Meanwhile, I'm just inspired, as I was telling you right before we started recording, I'm so inspired by what's going on right now with NFTs and the mainstream attraction and onboarding that they're accomplishing. And I think it's so healthy for the space. I think it's so great how much Ethereum it's burning. And I think it's just one of those things where, in hindsight, it'll be very obvious, but right now we still can't even see how big this is going to be. So it's just kind of an innovator's paradise. It's a builder's paradise, and everyone gets to join in the fun.
Well, that's a great segue because I want to start with just the broad strokes. For example, we saw Axie Infinity, that's the blue chip of play to earn games, doing billions of dollars in revenue. Millionaires are being made. If you played it, you've been playing it early. Can you just explain what these play to earn games are and what this revolution is with the NFTs on the gaming side?
So games are the biggest digital economies that exist right now. Obviously, if you were to take crypto out of the equation, the thing about games are they give you intrinsic value, and people love to be inside these worlds. Now, there's no other comparison in our digital worlds of people actively buying and selling digital stuff. So for those gamer fans out there, gamers who play it, gamers who build games, it's no secret the power that games have to get people to spend and to get people to essentially open up their pocketbooks. Now, what Axie Infinity has done so well is that they have balanced the economy of the game so that there is a continuous source of yield that is going to the players. So what Axie Infinity has is a DAO treasury model where they have a marketplace on their sidechain Ronin, and that marketplace takes a 4.25% fee on every trade of every Axie. Now, in order for you to go in the game and play and earn some of their play to earn token, which is called SLP token, you need to have an Axie, which are not cheap. And so in order to get in, you need to pay. And then once you get in, if you want to make more Axies or do things in the game, you need this token. And you can also like win or lose the token in the game. So you have this token that's inflationary, the SLP token, and then you have this sort of barrier to entry, which is you need one of these scarce characters. And what Axie actually, the tipping point that really is the glue here, is they have something called the sponsorship program, where they have essentially the ability to rent your Axies to other people who are more maybe motivated to play than you, and they go and earn with the character, and then the revenue shared. And so this is the model that really brought them to the mainstream adoption, which they're getting their biggest adoption in the Philippines and other less economically powerful nations where $10, $20 a day is a living wage or a very significant wage. And so here in America, it's not as significant. And so we're seeing less adoption from that player base. But what Axie is, in my opinion, is proof that a game can be rewrapped as a yield mechanism and can attract a ton of attention. So we could classify Axie Infinity as GameFi or gaming finance, right? Where you have these economic levers that are sort of wrapped inside a game, and then the economy is shared with the players. It's very interesting dynamic. And then all of the money, the 4.25% from that marketplace that's being shaved off, that's controlled in a DAO treasury that's voted on by the AXS holders. So the AXS token is scarce, it is capped in supply, and that's the one that's been going parabolic. And that's the one where the token holders vote on what to do with all that money, which is something like $2+ million that are being added to the treasury, not just in volume, but added to the treasury each day.
Dude, your excitement is palpable for this, and I love it. Your excitement excites me.
It's crazy.
Give me some traits. You listed some. Give me some, because now there's a lot of newer projects, play to earn, popping up. You said the loaning model where somebody can play for you. You said DAO. Just give me some general traits that you think give a play to earn game value.
So I'm going to make this super simple, because everyone is going to go around and try to find different attributes. Play the game. See if it's fun. Because nothing will be as powerful as good gameplay. The play to earn model incentive can be duct taped onto anything, in my opinion, and it can be added. Now, what cannot be added, what's really hard to add and much more difficult to create, is good gameplay. And you have all these artists and engineers and builders and operations people and accountants, and they all trying to create something fun. So if it's fun, then it's good. And if it's fun, then it's probably going to attract a player base. And the only reason why Axie went up in value is because it started attracting players. And so in my opinion, Axie has still a lot of room to grow on the fun department. It is not very fun. And that's why you have people in wealthier nations paying people in less wealthy nations to play it. Now, imagine how potent this whole economic equation would be if Axie on top of this was a super fun, addictive game. So this is the component where we're still super early. Axie Infinity shows the potential of these economies, and in my opinion, is small, very small compared to what you'll see with games that have addictive gameplay. So I have the privilege of being on the behind the scenes here, helping a lot of new games come to market through the SuperFarm Games Launchpad. Lots of big announcements there. And so I know that there's some absolutely stunning AAA amazing projects coming, including our own game. But that's what I'd say is, if you want to understand what the true potential is here, go see if it's fun. And that's step one. And if you want to see, okay, well, maybe it's not the best game, maybe it's got basic gameplay, let me see if the tokenomics are really exciting and they make sense. Like there's a project UFO that I invested into that was a meme coin, but of course now I'm trading JPEG, so I can't be biased against meme coins because I'm literally trading actual memes. And so UFO has a good example of their tokenomics make sense. They have great marketing, a strong community, and the game is kind of like rewrapping the DeFi. It's like GameFi.
Cool. So on SuperFarm, you're launching your own game on that, but there's other games. Are these games going to be like an Axie Infinity or a Gods Unchained, except even more fun?
So there's a wide spectrum here of games and projects, metaverse projects, and different ecosystems that SuperFarm will act as a launchpad for. We're going to have some really big announcements in collaboration with some of our biggest already announced partners. So for the wizards out there that already know our partners list, we're going to be collaborating with some of the bigger names there to help these projects come out. And there is a wave, a tsunami here of high quality gaming projects coming, and its impact on the total user count for crypto will be historic, and it will completely, in my opinion, it will dwarf everything that came before, I believe.
Very cool. So like, thinking like 5 years out, obviously anything could happen. Do you think the future of these play to earn type games are going to come from like the smaller independent developers and just gain popularity? Do you think the big guys are going to adopt it right away? How do you see the space developing 5 years out?
That's a great question. The big guys move slow. So everything at AAA gaming level goes extremely slow. Great example is Cyberpunk 2077. That company was publicly traded for over a decade, unlimited funding. They've been working on the game for 9 years, and they still delayed it like a whole year after like 2 or 3 big delays. And so big things and good things take time. That said, what we're seeing is the sort of middle upper tier have started to come in, right? Maybe not your Activision, but your sort of very high quality mid-tier studios are actually attracting mega funding to the tune of 30 and $40 million privately, building in stealth and getting ready to launch. And I know several projects like this. And so there's, I wouldn't call them AAA, but you have like AA and very interesting, compelling studios coming in. And there's still an amazing opportunity for the Axie Infinities, which by the way is, you know, a small team that raised a small seed round of under $1 million to build this game. And there's still that opportunity for these upstart crypto developers to really get in there before the big dogs come in. But the pie is going to be so large. And in my opinion, bringing more gamers into these ecosystems creates more opportunity for everybody. So it's a non-zero sum game. It's kind of like DeFi, where the more liquidity comes in, the more liquidity can come in, and it becomes sort of an exponential multiplier. I see that with NFTs and gaming both, right? Looking at a really good, interesting way to think about this is you're seeing these big art sales for NFTs now. Like there was a big sale of what's called a Fidenza. And now this sale had set like a new price level for that Fidenza. Well, I know the people collecting these. That Fidenza is gone. It's off the market. It's not coming on. These people are collectors, and that's in a vault now. Probably going to be years before that thing gets sold. So what happens when big art money, who are the normal people buying Picassos and stuff like this, when they're looking to make their first store of value purchase here in NFT land, they're going to look for something that's for sure, that's crystallized, that's, you know, for sure that this is the peak store of value in this new world of art. So how are they going to get that? Well, they're going to have to pay the next historic price for the next Fidenza, because that first one's off the market and the next person's going to want at least that much for theirs if they have the next prize one. So what happens is they then buy higher and it resets the prices. But then what happens the next time? There's a lot of money that needs to come into art right now, and it resets the prices again. It resets the prices again. So there's going to be a sort of concentration of liquidity at the top 1% of assets in JPEG land, and it will create sort of a black hole of liquidity and value storage in this asset class. And it is not a zero-sum game. And in my opinion, we're very early in this cycle. We're extremely early. We're like 2012 early.
Wow. Very interesting. And speaking of projects on your radar, just looking at the play to earn games, obviously things could change in 6 months as new games pop up, new developments happen. But right now, what are 3 to 5 play to earn games that interest you?
Yeah, so obviously the big dog is Axie Infinity. Then after that, there's a project called Chain Guardians that is sort of fixing their economics. I met with the team a couple times. Their sort of gameplay I would classify as higher quality even than Axie Infinity. They're super micro cap, so risky stuff. If you guys don't know micro caps or low caps, you know, I would say that this is advanced territory and risky territory. That said, they're switching their play to earn model from an off-chain reward to an on-chain reward. I told them it has to be on-chain, the rewards. And so they're moving that over. And I believe that they'll have a nice sort of relaunch when that on-chain reward comes into the picture. There's another project called Network, and that's sort of like a interactive VR metaverse. Land in that game is pretty compelling, as well as there's quite a few here. UFO, like I just said, has gameplay coming out. And there's a lot that are now, everyone's becoming a VR metaverse project. Oh, we were DeFi, but now we're metaverse now we're NFTs. And I just laugh because I know how hard it is. So if there's a project that hasn't been focusing on this for a long time, it's a big red flag. Because it's really, really hard to just pivot into games, especially good games. And so that's what we're seeing is sort of failed launch pads turning into gaming launch pads, and failed DeFi projects turning into metaverse projects. And I get it. It's the flavor of the month, and it may pump the bags for a second. But remember, the game and the economics around the game, that is it. And that's what matters. And all of the buzzwords do not.
And if somebody is looking into those games, you know, the first thing to do is maybe try playing one, like you said. Like, what are like a tip or a trick or just some advice you would give a new person trying to play a game? They find a fun one to make a little bit of money.
Yeah. So, you know, I have a theory, right, that the value accrual will happen. So I could be wrong here. I'll put that up. Unproven, but I have a theory that you will see an exponential multiplier at the ultra top of the asset classes, whether that's within an ecosystem of gaming, like within a virtual world or within NFTs in general. The big buyers will look for safety. And so they'll pay a super premium if they view that to be a safer purchase, a la a city block in New York City or a prime coastal California real estate. You know for a fact that that is a safe place to put your money because over a long enough period of time, the market moves. Now, the same thing will happen in that if you just are buying the base assets, it'll move with the floor, but floors move up and down. If the game moves forward, usually there will be sort of like an exponential value accrual towards like land holders or Genesis drop holders or those sort of, key pieces to the ecosystem. That said, there's also a floor game where, in most collections, like if you were to buy into like Bored Ape Yacht Club or something like that, you would most likely, especially if you're new to this, you want to buy in for the cheapest amount of money. You want to buy the floor because if the market moves, the floor will move, right? And you'll get that growth. You're not guaranteed to find the right buyer for your ultra premium asset. But if you're looking potentially for something safer long-term, I think that like the land and the Genesis items in these games will most likely be the things that have the ultimate long-term value accrual, kind of like real estate in the real world.
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm going to rattle off just some random names that I've heard of. You can say one word, you can trash them, you can say you love them. I just want your take. Logan Paul's new Play to Earn. Obviously, it's not out yet. Thoughts?
Well, it's not really a game. It's an NFT project where I believe there's breeding and then there's passive yield through the Zoo token. Not hating at all, because what I love about all of this stuff and what I talk about on my channel is if Logan Paul tweets about Sushi Swap or some kind of esoteric DeFi protocol, does that make you more bullish on it? No, not me. I don't think anybody does. In fact, we would call that a top signal, right? We would say, top's in, right? However, if Logan Paul is tweeting about Bored Ape Yacht Club, does that make us more bullish on it? Yeah, it does, because it makes Bored Ape cooler, right? It makes it more celebrity infused. Stephen Curry, he got a Bored Ape. What happened? Bored Apes went up 50% that day, right? Stephen Curry tweets about, whatever .finance. Does that make me more bullish? No, top's in. Right. And so there's a sort of social multiplier effect that goes back to more of a traditional influencer marketer brand world that we're used to, that NFTs can be powered by. Whereas the DeFi protocols, the fungible tokens, crypto as we know it, is not sexy. It's not brand focused and it's not mainstream adoptable yet. It's still hidden behind a barrier of obscure terms and knowledge base, and you need a doctorate to understand this stuff still. I don't need any education to say that's cute, looks rare, that's it. It gives me a feeling. And so I love celebrities and brands coming into NFT, especially when they're doing it thoughtfully. Like Logan didn't just say, here's a picture of me signed, pay me. He built this whole universe of animals that you can crossbreed. Like you can crossbreed like a chimpanzee with the giraffe or something, and the art's cool. And so look, it's a proper project, and I don't think it's a negative thing. Do I think it's the best project ever? I certainly don't know enough to say that. I don't know if it'll go up or down. No comment there. But I think things like this are healthy for the space.
And final one, this has nothing to do with celebrity. I have a friend who's obsessed with Binamon. He keeps wanting me to play. It's on BSC. Have you ever heard of this?
Binamon. Embarrassingly, no. Binamon.
All right. I just wanted, my biggest hesitation is like, how is it different than all the others? So, it's
cool. Virtual Pokemon kind of vibe.
I have no affiliation. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Binance, Pokemon of Binance, Binamon. Gotcha. I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah, looks cute, looks rare. We'll have to see what the gameplay is. This is definitely a big recurring format where people want evolvable creatures that you can battle with a fungible token that you can win and lose. There's a lot of this mechanic is kind of being. This is like the Axie formula, right? And everybody sort of basing this roughly off Pokemon. Axie credits Pokemon as like their inspiration. And so there's a lot of this. However, it's a winning formula as well. And so if you balance the economics and the money's there, people will probably be attracted to it. I don't know enough about this one. I would need to play it. I would need to dig in, but as a general format, it's definitely a winning format because it's the Axie format.
There's so much we could ask you, Elliot. People listening at home, please comment your thoughts and questions below. What do you think about what he just said? Because, you know, Elliot will come on in a month or two and give us an update, and we'll pull from this interview and ask some of your questions. I guess just my final thought is, just to wrap things up, what are your thoughts on the current state of the bull market? How long do you think it'll last? What are your price predictions for Bitcoin or Ethereum? What do you think?
Ooh, yeah. So I'd like to believe that we're in the Suzu super cycle, and I think that that's a nice thought. I think that we're most likely, if I were to put my money on one outcome, I would say that we're going to enter into a really rapid, explosive final act of the bull run. And we'll see nice blow off top territory of 150 to 250K Bitcoin, and I think as high as 20K Ethereum. And I think that those things will be quite violent and potentially short-lived. And I also don't think the bear market's going to be nearly as bad. But I would say that that's scenario one that I think is most likely to play out. Scenario two is goes into what I'm calling this theory of the microcycle, which is that we're no longer in a macro cycle environment. And if you look back and you were to ignore everything before 2018 and just say December 2018 is where you start the chart, well, what you see is we have about a 6-month bull run through 2019. Then we go down for about 6 months. Then we have another 6-month bull run through 2020. Then we recede for about 3-4 months. Then we have another 4 to 5 month bull run through 2021. Now we had another 3-month cool off, and now we're starting another wave. So it feels to me as though we're getting a little bit tighter waves with sort of frantic excitement and then a cool off, and frantic excitement and a cool off. But it's no longer sort of one macro like 2017 where you had this just big kind of parabola. And I think that, yes, there were corrections in 2017, but they were very short-lived. They were like a couple of weeks, right? And so the correction we just had is nothing like a 2017 correction. I think it throws the 2017 model kind of out the window. So the question is, are we 2013 or are we a beast of a new color? And I've personally found that history doesn't repeat, right? We know that it's not 2013 again. It might be useful to kind of put some context, but it is interesting to see this micro cycle theory, as I'm calling it, for lack of a better word, how that might play out. And what that means is more of sort of just having like sort of a seesawing up the chart, eventually leading to more of just kind of a linear growth over time.
Very interesting. We will be checking the chat down below, hearing your thoughts about this entire NFT conversation. But Elliot, final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience.
Yeah, just keep learning, keep an open mind. There is so much innovation happening around the NFT asset. And a lot of people are kind of like to write off NFTs as a fad, a bubble, a mania. Dig below the surface. Try to come in with an open mind and understand the power of the communities being built there. That's all I'll say.
I love it. All right. Thanks.
Appreciate you, Elliot. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, guys. Absolute pleasure. I love coming on this channel, and a big shout out to Altcoin Daily Army out there.